What if I told you that some of the greatest robberies in history didn't happen in movies, but in real life? Criminals who broke into impenetrable vaults, gangs who stopped entire cities just to rob one truck, thieves who dug tunnels for months, disguised themselves as police officers, or even made money rain from the sky to escape. These aren't legends. These are real heists, planned with military precision, carried out in minutes, and in many cases, still unsolved. Today, we're diving into the wildest, smartest, and most unbelievable robberies humans have ever pulled off. The Great Train Robbery, UK. It's 3:03 a.m. on August 8, 1963. A Royal Mail train is speeding from Glasgow to London. Inside the second carriage, called the high-value package coach, hundreds of mail bags are filled with cash, ready to be delivered. But this train is about to make a stop that isn't on the schedule. As the engine approaches Sears Crossing, the driver sees a red signal light. He hits the brakes. The assistant tries to call the next station, but the phone line is cut. Suddenly, masked men climb aboard. They grab the assistant and warn him, "If you shout, I'll kill you." The driver fights back, but one of the robbers hits him on the head with an iron bar. Meanwhile, the robbers break into the cash carriage. 4 postal workers try to resist but are overpowered, beaten, tied up, and gagged. The gang has planned everything. They cut phone lines, tampered with signals, and are here for millions. There's a problem. They brought a retired train driver to move the engine, but he freezes. The train has modern brakes he doesn't understand. That leaves only one option: force the injured Royal Mail driver to drive the train. Bleeding, he manages to move the train slowly down the track to Bridego Bridge. Waiting there are the rest of the gang and a convoy of army-style trucks. A human chain forms, and mail bags full of cash are thrown from the train to the vehicles. By 3:30 a.m., 120 bags are gone. Inside, £2.6 million, over £70 million today. The robbers tie up the train crew and drive off into the night, thinking they've pulled off the perfect crime. Meanwhile, almost 50 other postal workers in the unrobbed carriages have no idea what just happened. The gang heads to their safe house, Leatherslade Farm. They start counting the cash, but their celebration doesn't last long. Police bulletins are already out. Everyone is looking for army-coloured trucks. One robber tries to repaint a vehicle yellow but runs out of paint. Small clues, like a postal worker remembering the 30-minute rule, reveal the gang's hideout was close. Realising they can't stay, the gang leaves in pairs using fake names. By the next day, the farm looks empty. But a nearby farmer, hearing about the reward, reports it to the police. When officers search the farmhouse, they find a goldmine of evidence: mailbags, vehicles, tools, burned banknote wrappers, and hundreds of fingerprints, even on a Monopoly board where the robbers had played with the stolen cash. The perfect robbery had fallen apart because of one imperfect hideout. Within days, arrests start. Roadblocks are set up, and the gang is hunted across London. Some are caught paying rent with stolen cash, others are chased across rooftops. The robbery itself was flawless, but the escape? Chaotic, rushed, and doomed. So if you're enjoying this wild ride, hit subscribe and smash the notification bell right now, because the next heist makes this one look almost simple. The Antwerp Diamond Heist. Antwerp, Belgium. Known as the diamond capital of the world. Thousands of carats pass through this city every day. And at the center of it all is the Antwerp Diamond Center, a fortress of wealth where some of the most valuable diamonds on earth are stored. But in 2003, something happened that would shake the world of security forever. Inside the vault, diamonds worth over $100 million sat behind a wall of steel. This wasn't just any vault. It had more than 100 layers of security. Laser sensors could detect the tiniest movement. Magnetic locks required codes that changed every few hours. Pressure-sensitive floors could sense a single step. And guards patrolled every hallway, watching cameras that never slept. Most people wouldn't even dare to try. But a group of highly skilled thieves did more than dare. They meticulously planned every move. For months they studied the building, the guards, and even the habits of the employees. They mapped every hallway, every lock, every security system. They knew exactly when the guards would patrol and when the alarms were most sensitive. They weren't reckless. They were professionals. When the night of the heist arrived, everything had to go perfectly. The thieves slipped into the building like shadows. They bypassed the security systems with tools and skills that seemed almost impossible. Alarms were disabled, cameras were avoided, laser sensors were dodged, and then they reached the vault. One by one, locks that were considered unbreakable were cracked open. In just a few hours, the thieves emptied the vault of diamonds worth $100 million. Not a single guard was hurt. Not a single alarm sounded. And when they disappeared into the night, it was as if the vault had never been touched. The aftermath was as dramatic as the heist itself. Authorities were baffled. A robbery in a place considered impenetrable. Belgium launched one of the largest investigations in history. Detectives questioned employees, combed through the district, and even examined the black market for clues. But every trail seemed to evaporate. No fingerprints, no surveillance footage, no solid leads. It was as if the diamonds had simply disappeared. Over the years, some members of the gang were arrested for unrelated crimes, but the majority of the diamonds were never recovered, and the mystery still haunts Antwerp's diamond district. The heist became legendary not only for the incredible sum stolen, but for the audacity and skill that made the impossible look effortless. Even today, people still wonder, how did they really pull it off, and where did the diamonds go? The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum theft. It's the early hours of March 18, 1990, in Boston, Massachusetts. The city is quiet, streets empty, the kind of silence that makes even the smallest sound echo. Inside the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, the security guards are doing their usual rounds, unaware that history is about to be rewritten. Two men arrive at the museum dressed as Boston police officers. Their uniforms look official, their demeanor calm, and their story convincing. They tell the guards there has been a disturbance outside and that they need to inspect the museum. The guards, trusting the uniform, comply without hesitation. Once inside, the intruders spring into action. They handcuff the guards, tying them up in the museum's basement, and begin carefully selecting their targets. They don't go for random pieces. They know exactly which works are worth the most, rare, priceless, and irreplaceable. Over the next 81 minutes, the thieves walk calmly through the museum, taking 13 pieces of art, including masterpieces by Vermeer, Rembrandt, and Degas. Some of the works are even cut from their frames to be carried away. By the time the guards manage to free themselves, the thieves are gone, vanishing into the night as if they had melted into the shadows. The total value? Around $500 million today, though experts argue that the cultural loss is far greater. These paintings are irreplaceable. The aftermath turned Boston upside down. The FBI launched an intensive investigation, questioning art collectors, thieves, and even former museum employees. Over the decades, suspects came and went, leads fizzled, and tips poured in, but the paintings were never recovered. The museum itself still displays empty frames where the stolen works once hung, a haunting reminder of the audacity of the heist. What makes this robbery legendary isn't just the money. It's the sheer precision and boldness, disguised as cops, operating in the dead of night, escaping without a trace. Even today, the greatest art mystery in history remains unsolved, leaving everyone to wonder who took the art and where is it now. The Banco Central burglary. It's the early hours of August 2005 in the city of Fortaleza, Brazil. On a quiet residential street, neighbors see nothing unusual at a small, nondescript house. Inside, a group of criminals has been working silently for months, preparing for what would become one of the most audacious bank heists in history. These weren't amateurs. They rented the house above the Banco Central vault and spent months digging a tunnel, 78 meters long, perfectly straight and reinforced, all without attracting suspicion. The tunnel was carefully engineered. It had electric lights, ventilation, and even rail tracks to move heavy sacks of cash. Every day, the thieves removed dirt and debris in secret, using clever methods to avoid detection. Finally, the night comes. The gang breaks through into the central bank's vault, bypassing alarms and security measures that would have stopped most ordinary criminals. Inside, they load bags and bags of cash, more than $70 million, stacked in neat bundles of Brazilian reais. Each bag is carried carefully, silently, through the tunnel back to their waiting getaway vehicles. The operation is precise, almost surgical. No one is harmed. The thieves leave no fingerprints, no obvious trace of their passage, only a 78-meter tunnel carved out like a ghostly passage from their rented house into the vault. Within hours they have vanished, leaving authorities stunned. The aftermath is chaotic. Brazilian police and federal investigators launch an intensive search, examining every detail of the tunnel and the surrounding streets. Yet, despite an extensive manhunt and hundreds of suspects, most of the money is never recovered. Only a fraction is found years later, often traced back to small-time criminals who had no idea how the bulk of the loot was acquired. The Banco Central burglary becomes a legend, a robbery that seems impossible on paper but was executed with meticulous planning, patience, and engineering brilliance. To this day, it's remembered as the heist where brains outmatched brute force, and a team of ordinary-looking criminals walked away with tens of millions, leaving the authorities and the world in disbelief. The Hatton Garden Heist. It's the Easter weekend of 2015 in London, a time when the city is quiet and most businesses are closed. But in the heart of the Hatton Garden district, home to some of the UK's most valuable safe deposit vaults, a group of elderly men in their 60s and 70s is preparing for a robbery that will shock the world. These aren't ordinary criminals. They're seasoned professionals, many with decades of experience in burglary and heists, though most had long retired. Now, using knowledge few could match, they plan to break into the Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Company over the long holiday weekend when security is lighter and staff are off duty. On the night of the heist, the gang gains entry not by smashing doors, but through careful planning and technical skill. They disable alarms, manipulate locks, and even lift heavy metal gates that would have stopped anyone else in their tracks. The key moment comes when they drill through the vault's 50-centimeter thick concrete wall, a feat that requires patience, precision, and hours of careful work. Inside, rows of safe deposit boxes hold jewelry, cash, gold, and priceless valuables, some of which have been stored for decades. With methodical efficiency, the thieves open box after box, removing millions of pounds worth of assets, all while leaving minimal evidence. Their age belies their skill. They move quietly, deliberately, like men half their age. By the time the Easter holiday ends, the gang has escaped with an estimated £14 million, vanishing into the city without raising alarm. But the aftermath is where the story becomes almost stranger than the crime itself. London police launch one of the largest investigations in the city's history, using CCTV footage, forensic evidence, and tips from the public. Despite their careful planning, sloppy mistakes and small clues lead authorities to their doors. Within months, many of the gang members are arrested, and some of the stolen loot is recovered, though a significant portion remains missing to this day. The Hatton Garden heist is remembered not just for the money stolen, but for the audacity of a group of elderly men who pulled off a mega robbery with precision, patience, and nerves of steel, proving that experience can sometimes outsmart youth and technology alike. The Brazil armored truck heist. It's an ordinary morning in São Paulo, Brazil, but the calm streets are about to descend into chaos. Suddenly, dozens of heavily armed men appear, dressed in military-style uniforms and driving vehicles that look like they belong on a battlefield rather than a city street. Their mission: to steal millions from armored trucks. The operation is shockingly precise. Highways and city streets are blocked using trucks, cars, and even motorcycles. Drivers are forced to stop, and terrified pedestrians scramble for cover. The robbers move like a well-trained army, communicating through radios and using roadblocks to control the flow of traffic. Any interference could be deadly. The armored trucks arrive, unaware that the city has effectively become a war zone. Within minutes, the robbers storm the trucks, breaking into the reinforced compartments with power tools. Guards try to fight back, but the thieves are overwhelming in both numbers and firepower. In what looks like a scene straight out of an action movie, cash bags are ripped from the trucks and loaded into getaway vehicles. The entire heist is executed in a matter of minutes. By the time the police can respond, the gang has vanished into the city's labyrinth of streets, leaving behind panic, smoke, and stunned witnesses. The scale of the operation is unprecedented. It's not just a robbery, it's a military-style assault on the heart of the city. The aftermath is just as dramatic. Investigators describe the scene as chaos, vehicles abandoned, roads blocked, and terrified citizens recounting what seemed like an organized attack. Despite extensive investigations, many of the robbers slipped through the cracks, and much of the stolen money was never recovered. The heist goes down in history not only for the staggering amount stolen, but also for its audacity, meticulous planning, and sheer cinematic execution. This wasn't a simple armed robbery. It was an operation that looked like a small-scale war, and it left both law enforcement and the public in disbelief. If you enjoyed exploring these insane robberies and want more mysteries, crimes, and mind-bending stories, make sure you hit subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss the next episode.